Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tres Jolie channel, or my channel, whichever one you're watching this on. I am getting ready to work on some ATCs for the Moodboard inspired project this month. Now, I really liked all the textures that were on this month's Moodboard. I liked the wool, the basket weave that was in the same picture that has the wool in it, the lines in the sand. So I'm really kind of focusing on the textures in the Moodboard. And I did start this one right here with a weaving pattern. Now, I just used, and I'm going to just use this right here. I just used my little fringe making scissors, and on this sheet I had just cut horizontal lines like so, and just eyeballed the spacing. They're not all the same length, they're not cut all the way across. And then on the floral sheet, which was one of these that is on the underside, I did vertical cuts like so. Also, not all the way up, different lengths. And then on this edge right here, I glued them together before I started the weaving process. And let me see if I can get that up here so I can talk about it better. There, you can see different weaves. It's not all the same, so I didn't make it all even with just little squares. I have some that are longer strips through. Apparently it doesn't want to keep focusing on there. There we go. So you can see there are some longer strips through. I just really varied it a lot, and I just did that. I just grabbed up one of the strips and I would just kind of randomly pick or randomly slide it in and around like this until I got down to the bottom. And then after I worked my way down and got it how I wanted it, there we go. Then I just grabbed up some glue and tacked it down in place. And now apparently it's not perfectly straight. I actually have one strip right here that doesn't look like it's going to get in there, but I'm okay with that. I think it will look fine like this, even if it is a little bit kind of crooked looking. So I'm just going to leave that there for right now. And then to kind of prepare this background, I'm going to tear off and make it rough. Also, not worried about it being perfect, so I'm going to tear like this that top layer, making these different lengths also. Just like so. And I think I'm going to leave just these 3 across, and I'm going to glue them down in place. Let's see here. I'm not doing a heavy glue quite yet, and I will explain that because I'm gonna coat this background in some clear gesso so that I can add some watercolors to it or some kind of markings, since this is just going to be my background piece. So I'm just going to kind of tack these little ends down here. Like this. Just really so they don't slide around when I'm putting on my gesso. Okay. And this one, I'm just going to, let me see if I can fit it in anywhere really. I think I will actually just kind of run it like this along the side. Like so. Just kind of using it to finish off the edge. There. And so I have a background built up now. That's one of my ideas that I was working on, is a kind of basket weavy background. And now I also really liked that sand, and I liked the lines in it, so I have this nifty little tool that I've had for, well, a really long time. So you can see it has, let me put it over here, you can see how it has different edges in it. And this one, this is actually a kind of a brush type thing there. So I'm going to use that, but you don't have to. If you wanted to make lines, you can get something. This is just a bamboo skewer, toothpicks, the tip of an awl, needles, depending on how big you want these lines to be. This is just really handy because it's such a wide section, and I'm actually probably going to use this one that's kind of a brush. I don't know how well you can kind of see that in the camera, but I am going to grab up, this is some white sand texture paste. It came in the August 21 mixed media kit. And I am going to use this to give my background a little bit there. Oh, I knew I hadn't opened it yet. There we go. So, once again, I am really just kind of being very haphazard about all of this. So I'm just going to squeeze some out and use a just a palette knife. Now, if you got the September mixed media kit, there was a pack of palette knives in there, and I'm gonna just spread this on. Like this. And actually, if you can see, just the grit of this texture paste itself is adding some of those lines that I like. onto it. So just gonna kind of get it on here, and then I'm going to use my little tool. See how this works? So I started with this brushy tool, and it spread it out, and it did add some lines. So you can, hopefully you can see kind of those thinner lines in the background. And then I used this tool, or this edge of the tool, and made those slightly wider wavy lines. So now this is going to sit here and dry some, and then I'm gonna make a couple more backgrounds with the weaving and some texturing, and then I'm gonna come back and talk about what I'm going to be adding on. I have some mediums up here that were in this month's mixed media kit, even though that kit's sold out now, but I will be using mediums from the mixed media kit, or that can be found in the mixed media kit, and some other. I have some metallic flakes, which I think I might add on, some flowers. There were some art stones that was in the October mixed media kit, and I haven't decided yet. I may be throwing some of those on. So I'm going to go make myself up a couple more backgrounds, see how that goes, and then I will be coating things in gesso, I think, and then come back and see where I'm going to go from there. I have my backing, or my backgrounds here, dry, coated in gesso. The texture paste is dry, the gesso is dry. And I'm just going to move them up out of the way real quick. I have some of those art stones over here. They're mega art stones, and then just the regular art stones. And I've been kind of pulling out. There's these flowers. These are the kind that were found in, or the ones that were found in the mixed media kit. I have my flowers from the Cards, Tags, and More kit. I have my scraps of paper, some of these chipboard buttons from the Cards, Tags, and More kit. And then I have some ephemera packs. This one was from April of 2020 scrapbooking kit. This one was just the Tim Holtz pack that was in the September 21 mixed media kit. They have some washi tape strips. The Sage was from December 2020 scrapbooking kit. And then these coral were from September 2020 Cards, Tags, and More kit. And then I have this bit of rice paper that just came out in the May 21 mixed media kit. And I like it. I like the muted colors in it. So I have a few options for what I can add to my backgrounds here. And I'm just going to kind of set them off, and then I don't have any wool, and I don't think cotton balls would work, because cotton balls get wet, they just smush. But this is some of those fibers from the mixed media kit, except I used some of those Lindy's sprays to turn them green. I used the Ponderosa Pines Olive. So I just put it on a paper towel and gave it a light spray, and then just set it off to air dry. And I will show you that real quick, because I think I'm gonna do some in the Autumn Maple Crimson. So let me grab up my little bit here and just pull off a little clump. I kind of put it back together as much as I can there. And I'm going to use this kind of as a blocker. There we go. And then just give it a little spray. And set it off to the side to dry. So now I have a couple colors of fibers to choose from. Plus I can still use them in their natural color that they were. Okay, now back to my card bases. I'm going to want to add, right now I'm just kind of feeling. This one has more texture paste at this end and then less down here, so I kind of brushed it this way. And this one has the squiggly lines, and this one is thicker over here, and it kind of thins out as it goes across. So I want to kind of bring out those lines, and I'm going to do that with, let me see here, this has some water in it, and I think I'm going to lay them on a paper towel just to absorb the excess water. So I'm going to lay them out real quick, get them kind of wet. Get them wet here, and then come in with magical shakers. There's the Autumn Maple Crimson and the Oktoberfest Orange. These were the two colors that were in the mixed media kit. So, and I'm just going to kind of try to get rid of puddles just so it's damp. You can see right there when I opened it where they kind of hit already. So, and I'm just going to give some sprinkles. And I don't know, I can see it when the light reflects off it. I'll see if I can't hold it up without pouring anything all over me. Kind of where those lines and the texture is showing up a bit. Let's see if I can kind of get it. You can kind of see how adding the color has kind of brought out that texture in the background there. And I'm just gonna do the same, running these around on these three backgrounds. like that. This one you can really see it really got into those grooves good there. So there's that. And then kind of to just pick up the color from the surface, now I'm going to add some orange, or I guess the Oktoberfest orange, just a little bit to mix in. And there you have it. I have added some color to these backgrounds. Not too heavy though, just a touch. And then I'm going to come in with my heat gun here and get them dry. Okay, my Lindy's on these three are dry. I'm not going to add any on these, at least not right now. I don't know if I'll go that direction later. I have just some of the smaller pieces of the pattern paper from the scrapbooking kit that I have from other projects up here ready to use. I've pulled out some ephemera from that 13 Arts pack that I like that may get on here, and then I have some ephemera here from that Tim Holtz pack ready to go. And I'm just gonna get this little partial sheet I have out, just get things opened up and ready to use in various ways. There we go. Just so I can grab them, and because I'm just going to kind of build intuitively. I don't really have a plan. I'm just going to give a rough placement right now of various items until I get what I like. Alright, I have all the bits of embellishment on that I want on, and then I went to my sewing machine, and for some even more texture I just ran it through, no rhyme or reason. And I used a pale pink thread to do that, and I haven't trimmed them up yet, so I'm going to work on trimming them up and then adding some gesso to them. I'm probably going to avoid this background because that gesso would reactivate the Lindy's magicals that I put on back there, and I don't really want to reactivate them. Alright, there, I have this one trimmed up, so you can see it's almost looks white, but it is a pale pink. I'll actually grab that. I mean, it's a pale purple, sorry. I'll actually grab it up so you can see it all together. This is the thread I used on all of them. It's just a real pale purple. There. There we go. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to trim up all the excess threads, and then I'm going to come back, and I think I'm going to take them out and spray them. That way I won't have to worry about it. With this workable fixative, I love this. It's great. I actually can get mine at my local Walmart, which I was rather shocked by because I really do live in a very rural part of the country. And because it sprays on, it doesn't reactivate any kind of water reactives, but it works real good. So I'm going to take these out in a well-ventilated area after I get these threads trimmed up. Give them a spray. It only takes 5 minutes to dry before you can start working on it. And then I'm going to come back, and while these are drying, I am going to talk about my buttons. I have an idea for those. And then start putting the finishing details on these ATCs. These have been sprayed, and I am just going to set them off to the side to dry while I kind of work out my button idea. These little buttons that were in the Cards Tag the More kit, and this jar of metallic flakes that was in the June mixed media kit, this year's June mixed media kit. I'm going to kind of work on these a little bit, and I think the way I want to do it is with some sticky embossing powder I have in my stash. Let me just kind of, I'm not going to do them all. I'm going to I will be picking out which ones I want for each ATC there. There we go. Sticky embossing powder from Ranger, and just going to do it over a paper towel, and I'm kind of gonna look and see which ones I like on these cards real quick. I have one on each card, so I'm going to kind of work on them one at a time. So I'll start with one just to kind of show or explain what I'm talking about doing. I'm going to take my button. I'm going to grab up some embossing ink. Not that, that is not embossing ink. Some embossing ink. And get it on there. So, and put the sticky embossing powder on, and then heat it up, and then press on some metallic flakes. And there you have it. If it got a little bit darker, I turned off my ceiling fan light because metallic flakes, they're so lightweight. They will fly everywhere with the slightest breeze. So, let me see if I can put this up here and block out. There. You can see it still shows the design underneath. And now it's tri-colored and ready to be attached to the card, and it gives the card just a little metallic touch there. So I'm going to finish up the other 4 buttons and then come back and talk about my art stones and just the final touch that I want to do. Alright, I have all my buttons ready, and I'm just gonna finish up on one instead of doing the same thing 5 times right now. Get this project wrapped up. I have 2 embroidery flosses over here, just regular DMC. I have a darker purple. I don't know if it has the name on it. It is number 209 though. And then I have this brown, which is number 938. And I'm just going to use them the full 6 strands to add just a few details of hand stitching. So I'm just going to work on the one card because I'm going to do the same thing on all of them. So I'm just going to finish one, put the back on, and show you how I'm just adding the final details. So, get myself off a length here. So I'm going to take my purple. You can use whatever colors you want to add to here. And you can either use the needle for it, or someplace around here, an awl. I have an awl here, and you can pre-punch your holes. I'm probably going to kind of pre-punch at least the buttonholes. Or you can use your needle to pre-punch holes. You don't have to even pre-punch the holes if you can push it through. And for my button, specifically just for my button, I'm going to kind of add a little extra glue on the back. And because it's chipboard, so if it were to get caught, it could tear out that center. You probably don't need to, but I like to be extra careful, make sure things stay where I put them. Even if it is just an ATC, which isn't likely to be used for anything it could get caught on. But here we are anyhow. So, I just added a little bit of some collage medium as my glue to the back there. And I'm going to get this button on. There we go. Put it up in place. And I'm honestly just going to kind of grab up some Scotch tape, just some clear tape here, just to hold my end in place. I don't want to really make too many knots on the back so that it's not too bumpy when I get to finishing on the back. Which, let me go through. I have my button on here, and I'm just really going to randomly add some stitches on here with the purple, and then I will come back and add some random stitches with that brown. Alright, there you have this one. I did go back through the button and add a couple more pulls through it, just so that that purple would really show up. I just intuitively, I didn't plan out where to put it. I just looked at the card and said, you know, decided where I thought the stitching would look good on it. So, to kind of talk about my finishing up process. Now you can use some chipboard, some plain cardstock, some whatever material, some of whatever materials you happen to have on hand. I have these right here, and I think I'm gonna be, I'm just gonna use this on the back side, and that's gonna kind of clean up that back side for me. But since it's kind of rough, I'm gonna prepare the backs, which will be like name, date made, and location. Once I figure out where I put my pins. Oh, that reminds me, that isn't what I was going to do yet. I have this Stabilo pencil in black, and if you wanted to add shadowing, you can just kind of go around with it a little bit. And I probably should have done this before the stitching, and I forgot up until I was digging for my for just a pin to write on the back with. And I'm just going to kind of go around here, around the edges of the layers there, and just use a water brush since it's handy. There we go. And activate it. These are very, very water soluble pencils, so I'm just going to kind of be very careful in here. Smooth it out with my finger a little bit. And that's just to give some depth and shadow to the layers. And call this one mostly done, almost all the way done. Now I'm just going to grab up a glue stick and attach this back after I get my name on it and the date it was made. Make sure those edges are held down, even if I have to come back in with some glue and fill them in. Make sure the edges are down good. I may have to kind of clip them and spread it out in there. Till it dries. Maybe not. There we go. Okay. If there's any overhang that you want trimmed up, you can do that. When I cut my threads from the stitching or from the sewing machine sewing, I did trim out some of those fibers just a little bit. So now my final little act is going to be adding just a few art stones. And I'm going to use some, let's see, I think I will use some 3D matte gel. This is from my stash. I'm going to use this, I think, to get those art stones on there. And I'm just going to grab up a little palette knife, because this does dry transparent, so that won't be too big of a problem. And pick up some of the regular art stones and just kind of spread them on here very lightly. Just like that. I don't know if I'll have art stones on all of my cards, but I did want to kind of talk about a way to use those art stones. And that is the process I'm going to go through with the rest of my ATCs. I'll use my black pencil to add some shadows. Go in with that embroidery floss, sew the buttons on, just add some details and possibly some art stones. I will have photos up of all of the finished cards on the blog postings, so if you want to take a look at those. I hope that you enjoyed this project and it gave you some ideas of what can be done with items that are in this month's mixed media and cards, tags, and more kit. There, I actually added just one at a time. I'm adding a few of these mega stones in. And they gave you some ideas of how you can use that mood board. It doesn't have to be about the colors. I was completely inspired by all of the different textures that were on the mood board this month. Thank you for joining me here, and I will see you again next week.